one of my favorite stories about studies. Oh, I want to show you a text that I just got. No, I'm not, because my purse isn't here. So, I just received a text from my I call them my team. They're really not my team. There's a lot of people that have put a lot of time into this team, and actually the people that signed up this team, her name is Sharon McDonald. I think she's in the room. Where is Sharon? Yeah, Sharon found these people. She built with these people, right? And then, where's Dave Miller? Dave's here? Dave, yeah. So it goes me, Dave, Sharon, and then down the line we have a Slovak team, okay? Now, Sharon built with them for years, and I got to the Czech Republic, and there was one diamond. And because I was living in their same country and I spoke their language, it was really easy for me to train. And so most of my time for doTERRA, besides training people that would come in for events, was spent with my Slovak team. Like, I would say probably 80% of my doTERRA time was spent with them for the first probably 2 years that I lived there. So I got to know them really well. They all stayed at my house, slept over at my house many, many, many times. We did training after training. I put tons of resources into the team. I love them. And we did a lot of new programs. Well, I just got a text. Last month, Monika Batkova went presidential, but not with it was a lot of pain. It was a lot of, we were on the phone until literally the very last moment that midnight struck to make sure that she was presidential. And some of you Diamond Dashers here, you know Monica, right? Did you know that she went presidential? Yeah, she made it. Well, anyway, I just got a text from her frontline, a guy by the name of Roman that I know really well. In fact, his daughter came out and she did a summer program where she came out to the U.S. and we've been to their house many, many times. Anyway, Roman just texted me and said also, Allyse, I just want you to know, and he showed me his back office, we're presidential also. So there's 2 presidentials in Slovakia, right? So cool, right? So cool. Good job, Sharon. Good job, Dave. Like, high five from the audience, right? Let me tell you, this team, when we started studies. So what happened is, when I first got there, I invited 10 leaders to come to my house and spend about 3 days at my house. Spend the night and all that. There was probably 10 of them. And they got there and they were all sitting on the couch. And it was just interesting looking at, and I said, bring your 10 best leaders. And it was interesting looking at them all. There was one boy and 9 girls. And one of them was sitting on the ground and she was like a yoga instructor. She was always in a pose every time I looked at her, The entire 3 days of training. There's others that were actually in their 60s. And most of them had very, very little experience with business, with doing this. And they've been kind of doing it very organically for a while. And I remember looking at them and I remember saying, what is the biggest problem that you have in the business right now? Before we start this 3-day event, what's the biggest problem that you have in the business right now? And they said, have you heard this before? We can't find anybody to talk to. We can't find anybody that wants to, we're all out of contacts. No one is ever out of contacts. And it's even funnier when my Chinese team says this. We can't find anyone to talk to. I'm like, you can look out the window and see 100,000 people. And you can't find anyone to talk to. But what they really were saying was, we don't have the skill set to get outside of our warm market. Does that make sense? We don't have the skill set to get outside of our warm market or to tap into the warm market that has already either told us no or just won't respond to us. And so I looked at them and I said, okay, let's do this. Before I teach you anything about the duplication model, because they wouldn't have believed it anyway. They would have come with fear and, and I said, why don't we do this? Why don't we perfect your finding skills? Let's teach you how to find people first. And then after that, you'll have the confidence to do the business the way that it's supposed to be done. And so I looked at them and I said, every single one of you are going to find 20 people this month, every one of you. And if you don't, you're not going to come back to my home again. And all of them looked at each other like, eat as much as possible because we're not coming. Stuff the food in your pockets. We're not coming back. And they kind of sat there with big eyes, and I'm like, what if I were to tell you a system? If you follow it exactly, I promise you, every single one of you will have 20 people interested in essential oils, and if you're going to people that are 5, 6s, and 7s, so at the time they didn't even know about the rating system. I didn't even talk to them about that. It was just, we just wanted to start with basics, right? Then they don't have to just be product users, they can be sharers and builders. Well, anyway, I just said, I promise you, we can do this. And they kind of, it took me a little while just to get them to believe that it would be possible to find 20 people in a month. How many of you have found 20 people in a month? Oh, you guys are the anomaly here. Like, I'm not talking about like when you go to your family reunion, you just find people. I'm talking 20 people interested in essential oils. Now raise your hand. All right. Ooh, I'm talking with some rock stars then. So this was not normal for them. No, that's not true. I have found 20 people in a month, but not very often. So I went through this process and I told them how to do it. We, of course, role played. How important is role play in your business? Extremely. Incredibly important, right? It's something that we overlook all the time. So we role played. I showed them exactly how to make that call, and then before they left my house, I had them call 3 people. They all had success, and so I sent them off and I said, okay, now don't come back unless you have 20. And they were coming back in a few weeks, and we were, and so they left. Anyway, they came back. All of them were there except for one who, I'm not sure what happened. She got something with her work or something like that. They all came back and they were sitting on the couch, and this is what they said. Allyse, every single one of us found 20. I'm like, good job. And then they said something that I didn't believe. And I kept pressing them. I'm like, are you sure? They said, every single person we called, without exception, not just me, but every one of us, no one said no. Not one person. Woo-hoo. Every call we made, it was always a yes. And I'm like, I'm finding that hard to believe. Are you sure? And they said, every single one of them, every person I called, every single person said yes. Woo-hoo. And I'm like, that's awesome. So you only called 20 people? And they're like, yeah, I only called 20 people. All 20 said yes. I'm like, that's great. Then they said this, and we turned away 120 people. I'm like, what? They're like, okay, we were so nervous because you told us we had to do it exactly like you said. And you said 20 people. And like, so we had other people that were interested that were calling us, and we said, no. I was like, okay, hold on a second. You said no to 120 people. Yes. I'm like, why? Well, because you said to. I'm like, I did not say to say no to 120 people. I did. Anyway, the reason why is because I told them, if you do this, I'm going to pay for a study, and we're going to go over studies for these people. I'm going to pay for 20, only get 20. So that's why they said no, because a lot of them they didn't have the money at the time, does that make sense? So they just said no. I'm like, okay, number 1, never say no. And number 2, good job. So, would you like to know how all of them got 20? Yes. In a little country called Slovakia, where the average person only makes $400, right? Now, we did this process in Slovakia time and time and time and time again until it got tweaked. And all over the world, we've done essential oil studies all over the world. Like literally, sometimes we've done it 10, 12, 13 different times until it's perfected. So, will you be as obedient as my Malaysians and my Slovaks and follow the process? Yeah. Because I'll tell you this, we've had people that don't follow the process, and they only sign up 2 out of those 20 people that are interested. And then we've also had people that follow the process perfectly, and they sign up 19 out of 20. Pretty good, right? And do you know who signed up the most in that Slovak team? It was a little lady, 60 years old. Where's my 7-year-old that came up here? Yeah. 60 years old, and she killed it with essential oils studies. It was awesome. She was awesome. Yeah. Yay. Okay. Her name is Danka. All right, here we go. Go to page 34, and we're going to go through this process super, super clearly, okay? Now, this is something that you're not going to do for brand new people. You don't start an essential oil study for brand new people. What do you do for brand new people? They write a list, they rate the list. Does that make sense? You go through the regular duplication model. That's what you want them. This is for people that have hit a wall, or that feel like they're out of their warm market, or if you need a lot of volume for you to rank advanced at any given month. Are we clear? In fact, this studies, essential oil studies, is how Jenny, who's here is from Jenny Oates' team? There's like one person. Yay! Okay, this is what she ran for her to go Blue Diamond. So, studies are, we're going to read really quick, 34. Studies are one of the easiest high-enrolling recruiting methods. They provide a simple and non-threatening way to introduce essential oils to many new people and to help them enroll at the end of the study. Through the study process, participants will use the oils, have a chance to track and report their experience, and receive ongoing education. Participants will also be integrated into a study community and our team's essential oil community. The process outlined below has been proven time and again. Do not tweak anything in the study process. Tweaking breaks the proven process. So this is the interesting thing. Do you know why no one said no to them? So many people are really, really scared of MLMs, right? And no, nobody's scared of MLMs? Yeah, they are. So many people are really scared of MLMs. And so when you're talking about oils, or when you're giving them samples and people have a feeling, oh, this might be an MLM, it's just, there's this wall there. But something interesting happens when you have the right script and you actually reach out to people and say, we're holding a study about people that have a hard time sleeping, or about a pain study, or a stress and anxiety study, or a digestive study. Studies trigger something in somebody's brain that says what? They're legit, and they're free, and if I have this ailment, I want to be involved with this, right? There is no fear when it comes to studies. And so when we just tweaked the wording just a little bit, I mean, what are we really doing? It's the same sampling. It's the same. You sample and you follow up, right? It's just a different type of a program, and we tweaked it a little bit. And for some reason, people are way more receptive. A lot of the people that said no to you before, you call them with a study and they're in. It's incredible. Like, that's why every single person on the Slovak team, when they called people, they said, yeah, I'm interested. So, next. Studies take place over a 14-day period. This is not a medical study. Now, one of the girls that were in that group, one of the ladies I should say, she wasn't a girl, she was a doctor. And boy, did she struggle for like 2 or 3 hours with, but Allyse, how are we gonna post the findings? And I'm like, well, we're not gonna post the findings. Then it's not a study. I'm like, listen, this is not a medical study. This is a personal experience study. We're doing it with a bunch of other people. We can call it a study, it's just fine. And she struggled with this for like 2 or 3 hours, and I finally said, do you want to do this or not? You're a doctor, you could kill it with this. She's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm like, great. She did so well, right? Of course. So any of you here in the medical profession, you guys are going to kill it with studies. Unless you're like, I don't know. You might not kill it if you're the janitor at a hospital, but if you're a doctor, or a nurse, you're going to kill it.